Good morning and welcome to Mind Games TV, episode 55. Today I'm going to talk about winning streaks, losing streaks, what to do when you accidentally feed, and climbing mentality. See if I can play my intro. Look out, everybody's headphones. Okay. No really big announcements today. I guess I just booked tickets to Berlin to do some live training with an LCS team leading up to the LCS here, so that's really exciting. I'll let you guys guess who it's going to be. Actually, there's more than one. So you have like a 1 in 4 chance of being right. No, there's 10 teams now, not 8. So 2 out of 10. 1 in 5 chance. Unless you just guess everything. Go ahead and leave it in the comments if you want to guess, and I'll confirm or deny there by answering exactly. So I also have my new hairdo, which you can see is a result of basically taking a shower and then having to bike for an hour and a half to take the kids to a totally different daycare than normal. And now they're falling asleep on the way because we have to get them up super early, and the sun doesn't come up, I don't even think, for another 2 hours, but here I am at 9 a.m. with the sun not arisen, and it's just dark here. So I'm trying to stay light, trying to stay happy, and trying to answer awesome questions that we're getting in for this show. So let me jump right into it. The first question is from Reddit's Summoner School, and the poster's name is Murchi. So you can, I'll have the link down below in the description on YouTube and on Twitch, but you can check it out if you just go to Reddit Summoner School, reddit.com/r/Summoner School. So he or she says, I can be on a huge winning streak, but after I lose one game, I proceed to go on a losing streak. Can anybody tell me why? So I think that a lot of this is expectation. When momentum is a really powerful concept in our minds because we interpret the future, and we think a lot about the future and we think a lot about the past. We interpret a lot of future events based on things that are happening, or just happened to us. And we essentially, there's been some research on this in sports psychology, and the people who are researching it are looking how to reset momentum, right? How to get the tense mindset where, okay, you just double faulted. How do you make sure you don't double fault again? Because it's so common to double fault and then just like double fault and double fault and double fault, because you start to work it inside your mind. And we found out that essentially what happens is when people are afraid they're going to screw up, so they've envisioned the thing that, okay, I've just lost a game, I'm going to go on a huge losing streak now. When people envision that scenario, they start to be very conscious about their effort. So they're very conscious about their decisions and their choices. They're very conscious about their motor movements, their motor control. And what happens is the things that caused you to go on a winning streak, so the automated decisions, the automated actions, the things that you were not even thinking about and just doing, those things that cause you to go on a winning streak, you're interrupting them, you're screwing them up by focusing and controlling your actions and your automaticity too much. And so the way that we fix it when we're working with people like shooters and tennis players is we try to get them to cut down on the number of steps that they're trying to control and to trust themselves and just let it rip. Just believe in the decisions and the training and the work that they put in, recognize what it is that got them on the winning streak, and ask them to stop controlling themselves. And usually the way that we can train this is actually to have you come up with a set of steps beforehand that you decide are the things you want to focus on. So let's say it's champion select in League of Legends. and like you're just on a winning streak and you're playing whoever and it doesn't even matter and you're dominating, and then all of a sudden you lose a game and you're like, okay, I'm going to play only I don't know, Zed, because Zed's my main and I can win the mid lane and then roam. So you're like, okay, I'm going to only play Zed and I gotta win, I gotta get mid, and I gotta carry or whatever so I don't lose. So instead, you should try to do your champion select the same way you did your champion select before, which was identify the things that you were doing that led to your success. So like you would communicate, you would try to enhance the team's composition by picking something that would suit the composition, and you would try to get everybody boosted up. Like, hey guys, I'm dominating recently, just let me play this thing and I'll totally fit out the composition and I'm going to rock it. I haven't lost a game in like 7 games or whatever. So you kind of like adopt that mentality. You'd identify 3 or 4 steps that you can just like write down as a checklist that you go through. And instead of focusing on the wrong stuff, which is what we tend to do as soon as we start losing, you just pull out your checklist. You say, okay, these are the 4 things I have to do, and you don't let yourself do anything else to interrupt your own automatic kind of conditioning. Then the same thing with skill execution. So instead of like going to the lane and thinking like, okay, I have to all in level 2, or I have to get the CS, or I have to like win this lane or we're going to lose the game, you should look at the winning streak and identify what were you doing in lane in the winning streak, and what were you doing on the map in the winning streak. And you should break it down into 3 easy to remember steps, and you should write on a checklist. And you should only allow your brain to check those off as you're going. And that way, you can draw your focus away from the automatic behaviors that you are now focusing on and screwing up, and you can try to draw it back to this very simple checklist of decisions that's not going to interrupt your automatic training, the things that you can already do well. And really, like, you want to keep those things in the learning process anyway. If you do something intentionally, it's almost not as strong as if you do it automatically in a learning mode. So you can, even though you're screwing up automatic behaviors, you're still learning new ones if you're focused on the right stuff. So that's basically the cause of momentum in terms of mental momentum in our minds. So those are my suggestions. Best of luck. Okay, and the next question is also from Reddit Summoner School. The poster's name is Vinny Gar. And he asks, or she asks, what do I do when I accidentally feed? And let me check a little bit of the follow-up on this one. Okay, I already closed it. I think the idea basically is, what do I do when I go in and I'm just playing my normal game and I'm the feeder? Okay, how do I react? So there's a couple things that go on here. There's this one-sided fear that we have that we're letting everybody else down, and so we have this social obligation to our teammates, and most people kind of like beat themselves up about this and then go silent or get really defensive because it's their way of coping. And so you'll see a lot of people that will start trolling. You'll see a lot of that's not a majority, by the way, just a lot of people, because of a small percentage is equal to a lot in League of Legends. But then the majority of people will just beat themselves up and go quiet and feel bad and want to finish the game and end the game and just be over with so they can play a new one and be a better teammate, be not the feeder. So instead what you have to do is recognize that there's going to be a certain percentage of games where you are the feeder because you're going to be making a mistake and you're going to have an opponent who's ready to capitalize on it. And then you're just going to have this unfortunate series of events that are out of your control. And it's going to look like you're basically the feeder, and like no matter how many, like you have to keep getting farm and you have to keep making yourself relevant, but doing that entitles taking a certain risk, and you know that you need to take that risk in order to be relevant, and then the risk doesn't pay off, and then you're dead again because Rengar was camping bottom over and over and over. So recognize that there's a small percentage of games or even a large percentage of games where you will end up as the feeder, especially if you're the AD carry, and accept it. The first thing you have to do is recognize that like all of the kind of emotions that you're putting on yourself are not intrinsic to your identity, that they are simply like kind of like propaganda that your brain is sending you. Like, hey, your team hates you and you're a loser and why are you feeding and all this stuff, and you accept it with kind of warm acceptance and just say, yep, like let me interpret this better than my brain allows me to. Statistically, I know this is going to happen, and you can instead focus on actions, not thoughts or behaviors or communications necessarily, but actions that will make it better for you and for your team. So the first action is to ask your team what they would like you to do. Say like, hey guys, I'm not having the best game right now. Mentally, I'm here, but like every decision I make seems to go bad. Should I try to be relevant? Should I, kind of like put it on them a little bit and say like, hey, own this with me, like own this problem with me. And that can help you and help them like build up kind of a social bond within the team, and maybe like make sure that like everybody gets really gritty. Because the problem is like other people might be winning their lanes and they might feel like very in the zone, and they might be making more mistakes then, when in reality like your team's behind because you're feeding, and so everybody needs to dig in their heels and really like fight for the victory. So it might get everybody together on the same page in this like fighting mentality, and that feels really good. If you have a bad team, that's not going to happen. So at that point, you basically need to mute everybody now because they're all flaming you, and just focus on learnables. So what can you learn still in the rest of this game? What small goals can you set for yourself that you can still accomplish successfully? And think of it in terms of building a staircase in the fog where you can only see the next step or two. And try not to clear away the fog. Try not to have expectations for what's at the top of the staircase. Try to imagine you're never going to finish this staircase, but you just want to build the next step because that's what a very good builder would do. And just build that step. Like, okay, I want to focus on clearing out wards in my bottom jungle and placing 2 wards so that I can like take the waves reliably when they crash. And then I'm going to focus on like trying to be with my team when they engage, like my map movement decision, like those 2 things or whatever. And you just set small controllable goals and you build up on it. So those are my 2 suggestions for what to do when you accidentally find yourself in the feeder position. And I think the main one, mentality-wise, is the first thing I suggested, which is to just understand that this is going to happen and to accept it. Okay, and finally, we have from Reddit Summoner School, AthertonWing wrote this excellent post, which I suggest you guys go check it out. So you'll find the link in the description, and it's called Climbing Mentality and How You're Probably Overthinking This One. And essentially he talks about how you're not going to win every game, and if your goal is to win every game, then you are not going to be able to learn. And I tell this to the pro players a lot. I say the quintessential skill of a professional athlete in League of Legends is the ability to learn. You can learn faster than other people and better than other people, and that means that you are reprogramming your motor movements constantly to the most elite level. And when a new champion comes out, when a new patch comes out, like, you stay on top. This is why one-trick ponies are not pros, because they get really good at one champion, and then they can't actually learn fast enough to keep up with the rest of the field. Because their skill was never learning. It was just like that one champion, a deep, deep knowledge of it. So you should treat yourself the same as a pro, basically, that your job or your skill in League of Legends is essentially like learning, or is seeking joy if you're just doing this for entertainment. And if that's the case, then you have to understand that the same steps that lead to you like winning a game aren't the same ones that lead to learning, right? So let's say you're losing a game, and the smart thing to do would be to sit back in your base and just farm. Just like let the waves crash and farm. And you'd have a statistically like, a slightly statistical chance of winning if they made a mistake or whatever. But that's not what you need to learn. What you need to do to learn is actually to engage in fights from a disadvantaged perspective, and then try to engage in a situation where you have an advantaged, like high ground, like a tactically advantageous situation, like a 5v4 or whatever. And you need to find those or engineer those, and then engage on them, and then try to coordinate with your team to have better team fighting coordination and better damage on the right targets, and better escaping with low health and use of HP in the fight. So that's very contradictory to what you actually need to win, because it's high risk, high reward. Like, you're going to enter into a high risk situation. If you lose the team fight, you're going to definitely lose the game, but then you're going to do it again and again. So you're going to learn a lot through losing in this situation if you're focused, if you're striving for these situations and if you really put yourself like in the kind of mindset where you're going to pick up on those tactics that you're employing. So you should go read his post because it's a really good kind of long explanation of what I just summarized. And make sure that you check it out. I think that he's got another one also if you check his posting history that is about aggression and passivity, which lines up really well with the research that we've been pushing on mindgames.gg. So check that one out as well. And I want to end today with a quote before I jump into Twitch chat and check for questions on Twitter again. And the quote is from Michael Phelps, and it's back in 2004. Before he was going to start in his first Olympics, and he just dominated the U.S. Nationals, and he was going to see if he could match and beat Mark Spitz, which he failed to do in 2004, and he succeeded in 2008. And he tells this small story. Back in the winter at 5:30 a.m., when I didn't want to get up and train on some cold, dark morning, I'd still make myself snap on the light and look inside my swimming cap. By the way, his swimming cap is beside his bed. I just want you to realize that. Or maybe it's even under his pillow. I don't know. Athens is stitched on the initials, on the inside. I'd get up then, grab my bag, and head for the pool. 365 days, year after year. And here's the quote. I can't remember the last day I didn't train. So one of the things that we talk about a lot is the concept of talent versus skill. And the difference between talent being something you're born with and skill being something that you develop, that you can learn. And the constant research that's come out over the last 60 years showing that talent is essentially meaningless in terms of becoming a champion, in terms of like excelling at the global level, at the highest scale, that the most important talent seems to be, according to the research, over and over and over again is shown to be your ability, your motivation, and your ability to execute with a deep focus over a long period of time, the thing that you're working on. And I think that people look at Michael Phelps and they try to analyze the genetics that led to this phenomena, and they forget the yardage and the grit and the sheer determination that led to it. That for years of his life, there was not a single day that he did not wake up and train twice that day and then also go work out, like in the gym, for thousands and thousands of days. Not thousands and thousands of days, basically 1,000 days, 3 years, times, starting when he was 5 years old. So when did he compete in Athens? I think he was 19 at the time. And he started when he was 5. So we got 14 years of near nonstop training once he got started. Yeah, so think about that. When you want to be an LCS pro, there's a lucky few who got in, early based on just like being the best at the time. But now you're competing against real athletes, people who are going to take this seriously. And they're going to come at it with a mindset of training that is exceptional in terms of like how much effort they want to put in. And that's really what's going to make the cutting edge possible at the top. Okay. Thanks for stopping by today. Let me check out, see if anybody's even here. Okay. I'm the silent feeder, feels bad, man. ASMA. The straw team building game. What is the straw team building game? I'm really curious about this Kolayan one. And hey, Team Rip, how are you? I'm good. I'm having a great day. I've got, for the last 3 nights, I've gotten full nights of sleep, which is something I haven't allowed for myself in a year because I've been in grind mode. And now I'm actually getting sleep. So that's kind of a super exciting phenomenon. Super exciting development in my life, basically. Do you guys have any questions before I take off? I don't want to end, earlier than... I'm going to hide the preview of myself talking. There we go. That's better. Where did I study? I studied in 2000. I started university in St. Olaf College, Minnesota. So the Oles. We were lions, the Ole Lions. And I studied their mathematics and English. In mathematics, I mostly studied linear programming, which is the study of like, so linear programming lines are things without exponents. So if you have x squared, it's a curve, and just like x plus y is a line. So linear programming is you have like a ton of variables, but it's not a curve or anything. So you have to solve like an equation. Like you have a UPS driver, he has 500 stops. What is the most efficient way to do those 500 stops? It's a linear system, and you have to optimize it. So linear programming was invented by this guy. Oh gosh, he invented the simplex algorithm. I can't remember his name. The story is hilarious. Okay, Sime, I'll get to your question in a sec. I got to share this hilarious story of this guy who invented linear programming. He showed up to his UC Berkeley statistics class late, okay? And there were 2 problems on the board, and he thought they were homework. So he took them home. They were pretty hard. He solved them, sent them in. About 6 weeks later, his professor's like banging on his door one night. He's like, what the heck? He's like, these weren't homework problems. These were like unsolved problems in statistics. And he like solved them for homework accidentally. So it shows a little bit about the mentality of like being told what is possible, what is impossible. Like sometimes ignorance is bliss, because if you don't know something is impossible, you just do it. It's one of the reasons like companies love hiring like young people like fresh out of college with a lot of ambition, because they don't even know what's not possible, so they're willing to do anything and give it a try. So yeah, anyway, I studied there, and then I studied in Finland. I studied 2 years for my master's degree in psychology, sports psychology, and exercise psychology as well. Exercise psychology is all about how to get people to move so they don't die. Do you still play League yourself? If so, how good are you? This is a good question, because I haven't had time to play League ever since I've started coaching League. It's really depressing. But essentially, like, I had a full-time job and I started coaching League of Legends, and then I had kids kind of all at the same time. And so like there went all of my time. So I had to cut something, and I couldn't cut my full-time job. I couldn't cut coaching League because that was freaking awesome. And I couldn't cut kids. That sounds really bad when I say that out loud. I couldn't stop taking care of my children. Although you see that on stream a lot, like parents with their kids running around in the background plugged into a video game machine, but I don't believe in that kind of parenting so much. I like to engage with my kids if I can. Although I spend a lot of time on my phone, so maybe I don't like live up to that ostentatious challenge I just gave myself. But anyway, yeah, so I haven't played League in a while. The last time I played League very seriously, I was applying these techniques to myself. Cut the kids. I was applying these techniques to myself, and I was trying to see how far I could climb in like the 8 weeks before my kid was born. And I think it was gold something, and then I went up to like plat 3 and then diamond 5, and then the baby was born, and that was the end of that. So it was fun because I knew the techniques worked. At least I was using it on myself. But then I got a lot more veracity or validation when I was starting doing the pros, and I was seeing like excellent results with the professionals. And for those of you who are just joining us, I've already finished the show. I answered the 3 questions. You can check out the VOD after the show on Twitch, or you can check it out on YouTube when we cut it up and throw it up there. And if you want this stuff like automatically in your Facebook feed, like we cut each question out individually and we're going to put them on Facebook. So make sure you follow my page, Mind Games Consulting, on Facebook. But now I'm just taking questions from the chat. So if you have anything you want to know, let me know. Soul has a couple of friends in optimization. That's really cool. It's a really awesome field, and I would totally keep doing it if I wasn't much more excited by the human brain, I think. Okay, so if there's no more questions for the day, then I will see you all tomorrow. I hope. Unless something crazy goes on. I'm just going to wait a sec for the delay to cut down so that people can ask their last questions before I end the stream. I didn't record it. I hope that the VOD is saving on Twitch. Bummer. Okay. Thanks again. Hit me up on Twitter if you have anything for the show tomorrow. Let's see, how do I